Hey, friends of Wildfire, it is Thursday, July 1st. We finally made it to July. Good riddance on June. It was much too dry and much too warm across the state, led to some pretty bad conditions that we're seeing now. Going into the 4th of July holiday weekend, I just kind of wanted to present a little bit of information to you all on what we're going to be seeing statewide in terms of fire weather conditions. I don't think it's going to be critical, but considering the fuels conditions on the ground, considering how dry things are, I think we just need to kind of be aware of what's going on. So I'm going to put you through a little bit of a fire weather overview for the next 5 days, going through Monday, July 5th, and we'll kind of close out with just an outlook for the rest of the month. So let's get started. So here we are. Here's our fire weather situation report presented today, Thursday, July 1st, and this is going to be valid for today through Monday, July 5th. And again, my name is Darren Clibwin. I'm the state fire meteorologist for South Dakota. So just kind of what we're looking at currently is conditions are dry out there, right? We haven't seen a lot of precipitation over the past month. In fact, we've really seen like 15 to 30% of our average precipitation for the month of June, which is a terrible thing because June is really our wettest month of the year for most of the state. So we're really getting some dry conditions, and that has led to what we're seeing today in terms of our U.S. drought monitor. We've got a lot of drought conditions across the state. Only kind of the central and southern Black Hills are out of those drought conditions or abnormally dry conditions, and just, that Custer area has been a little bit more wet than everywhere else. But everywhere else across the state, we're really dry. The other thing that's been going on is hot temperatures. That's been pulling moisture out of the soils, pulling moisture out of the fields, and pulling moisture out of the plants, leading them to be much more brown and susceptible to fire than usual. Here is satellite imagery of yesterday, right? There's a little bit of cloud cover out there, but focus on like the northwestern quarter of the state and the areas around the Missouri River. Let's compare that to the same time frame last year. Much greener last year, much browner this year, much greener last year, much browner this year, right? Even last year, remember going into July last year, it was dry last year, but we're way drier this year. So I do have a lot of concerns coming into the month, and the vegetation is responding to those hot temperatures and dry conditions. This is the Veg Dry Index, or Vegetation Drought Response Index. Basically, it's saying that the vegetation on the landscape is stressed. The plants out there are really unhappy because there's no water available to them. So they're not growing very well, and they'll likely burn if given an ignition source. So let's look forward to our weather conditions just a little bit. Here's today, Thursday, July 1st. I'm going to show you 5 of these pages that are very similar. In the upper left-hand corner, it's the maximum temperature for the day. Bottom left is minimum RH for the day, and bottom right is maximum winds for the day. So what we're seeing across the state right now is, yes, temperatures are going to be in the upper 80s to lower 90s statewide, a little bit cooler across the Black Hills. Minimum RHs are going to be in that 20 to 35% range, and our winds, especially across the western third of the state, are going to be gusting in the 15 to 30 mile per hour range, and that's going to be a southeasterly wind. So not critical necessarily, but near critical, and we do have red flag warnings out for Harding County today. Going into tomorrow, temperatures bump up just a little bit. High temperatures in the upper 80s to mid 90s. Minimum RHs fall down just a little bit lower, maybe that 18 to 28% range. And again, across central and western South Dakota, winds are going to be gusting into the 20 to 25 miles per hour. We're talking borderline critical fire weather conditions tomorrow, July 2nd. So just something to be heads up on. Going into Saturday, July 3rd, temperatures bump up even a little bit farther. Now we're talking upper 80s to upper 90s, maybe bumping 100 degrees across central South Dakota. Minimum RH, again, in that 20 to 30% range, and some breezier southerly winds across central South Dakota expected on Saturday. Borderline red flag criteria. We're not quite there, but given a holiday weekend, legal fireworks sales across the state, we got a lot of sources of ignitions out on the landscape. Going into the Independence Day holiday, even warmer. We're talking about temperatures in the mid 90s to even the low 100s. Minimum RH in that 18 to 28% range again, but our winds should back off a little bit more in the 10 to 20 mile per hour range, maybe a gust or two up towards 22 or 25 miles per hour. I don't think we'll reach critical fire weather conditions anywhere on Sunday, but do concern yourself with those hot temperatures and the conditions of the fuels. Moving forward to Monday, July 5th, temperatures are still going to be hot, maybe a little bit cooler than they were on Sunday, still up in the 80s to upper 90s. Minimum RH should come up just a little bit as the dew points come up. Min RH really in the 25 to 35% range. Monday actually might feel a little bit muggy just because the dew points are going to be so high. And we got much lighter winds on Monday, southeasterly to easterly winds in that 5 to 10 mile per hour range. So again, not critical conditions across the state this weekend, but near critical in a few places, especially on Saturday. Thunderstorm chances, though, this is the thing I want to bring up. Not only do we have, potential for human-caused ignitions over the next 5 days, but there is some thunderstorm chances. Today, we're really looking at far southwestern South Dakota and east central Wyoming, where we have a chance of that thunderstorm activity. Kind of in the Fall River, Custer County area might get a thunderstorm or two. That should expand more towards the western third of the state on Friday. So the Black Hills, southwestern South Dakota, I know it's not coverage everywhere, but I do think there's a chance of thunderstorms kind of over the western third of the state on Friday, and those will probably move towards the Missouri River Friday night, but I think they'll die as they get closer to Pierre. As we get into Saturday, thunderstorm chances increase across the western third of the state, and those again should move towards central South Dakota going into the evening hours on Saturday. On Sunday, kind of a chance of thunderstorms everywhere. I know it doesn't show complete coverage across the state, but I would give a slight chance of thunderstorms kind of everywhere across South Dakota on Sunday, and going into Monday, much of the same. Chances of thunderstorms kind of increase a little bit Monday as our dew points come up. We just have a little bit more moisture out on the landscape to work with. The big question mark with the next 5 days, though, is how much precipitation we're actually going to get. And there's some discrepancy between our weather models. Now, this is the GFS weather model run, the global forecast system, and it's showing what you're seeing in South Dakota is kind of spotty precipitation with some bullseyes of heavier precipitation. Basically, it's just showing that the thunderstorms we're going to see over the next 5 days, there's not a lot of wind shear out there, so the thunderstorms aren't going to be moving very fast. So where there are thunderstorms, we do expect there to be some decent rains underneath those thunderstorms. But it's very convective in nature, which means it's very unorganized and very spotty. We're not going to see thunderstorms everywhere. There's going to be places that miss the precipitation and some areas that get a decent amount of precipitation to come with them. But I do want to point out the European model, or the ECMWF, shows much less total accumulated precipitation over the same period. And this is going through Monday afternoon at 6 p.m. So this is showing most of the precipitation stuck to the Black Hills, not a lot over the prairies of South Dakota. My takeaway from this is that we will see kind of isolated to scattered, just pop-up type thunderstorms, maybe produce a little bit of small hail, but the thunderstorm bases are going to be really high, which means that the rain that comes out of those thunderstorms is going to have a long way to fall before it hits the ground, and that's a long time, a lot of opportunity for evaporation. So I don't think we're going to see widespread rainfall going into Monday, but we are going to see a few thunderstorms. We are going to see some lightning. Some areas will get some decent wetting rains, maybe even up to a half an inch or an inch out of some of the thunderstorms, being they're going to be moving so slowly, but it's going to be very sporadic, not a widespread precipitation event at all. Kind of looking at my outlook for the rest of the month, I made this outlook this morning. I disseminated it via email and Twitter. Feel free to take a look at it. If you haven't gotten it, let me know. But I do see very high potential across nearly all of South Dakota in terms of wildland fires for the rest of the month. Southwestern South Dakota and the southern Black Hills has been a touch more wet down there. The grasses aren't quite as dead or dried out yet as the rest of the state, so I'm just giving it high potential in those areas, but I do expect above normal or above average fire activity across the state going into July. I have not seen this type of situation really since 2012, and frankly, this might be worse than what 2012 was. I don't want to scare everybody, but I do have a lot of concern coming into the month of July. There you have it, South Dakota. It's kind of a tough situation that we're in. A lot of dry grass out there. Fine fuels are really dry. And we're coming into the 4th of July weekend when we typically see a peak of wildfire activity anyways. And it's not just the human-caused stuff, but we got some thunderstorms on the landscape. I know we are going to get lightning ignitions over the next 5 days. I know it. So let's just minimize those human ignitions. Please, to all our firefighter friends out there, be safe. Have a great weekend. Hopefully you can enjoy yourselves too. And to everybody else, be safe. Have a great weekend and really just limit those ignitions, folks. Limit them as much as you possibly can.